Sezno. Starting is the hardest part. I've learned this big time over the last year, and I understand it clearer and clearer with every passing day. As a young person, obviously, it's super normal and relatable to have an idea of who you want to be in the future, in the far future. But the thought of the work and the time involved in achieving that is so frightening and demobilizing. Like, where am I supposed to begin? I am very much still in like the struggle era of my life, you know? Don't get me wrong. Like, I haven't even achieved like 1% of what I would like to in this life. But in the last year or so, I feel like I got going in ways that I never really had before. And it's clear to me these days that starting is the hardest part. If you're new here, I'm a musician. Check out my music. EP next month. So everything I'm referring to in this video basically relates to me pursuing an artist's life. But I do think it relates to anything, you know, to anybody who wants to be excellent, or anybody who currently finds themselves in a situation that they'd like to transcend long term. Anybody who wants to level up in any way. Bro, I'm not successful, you know, I haven't made it, whatever that means. But I currently am the most successful that I've ever been in my life so far. And that is an encouraging thought. That's actually a thought that hit me the other day. It's like the start of the year, early January, New Year's resolutions. Like, I was thinking about everything that went down in 2025. And I had this moment of like, oh shit, like, I've actually made some progress. I look back on 2025 and I set out to start building an audience and expand a platform. And I've been doing this music thing for a while, you know. Last fall marked a decade. But whatever mindset I have right now, whatever like routine and work ethic that I have right now, I didn't have for like the majority of that decade. Because truthfully, like, I really didn't know what the fuck I was doing. My goals were too vague. Like, my heart was always in the right place or whatever, but I didn't have enough experience or intuition to like properly see the bigger picture. Who do I actually want to be? What actually are my aims? And thus, what do I need to do? What does the unfolding of that person that I see in my head actually look like? Say 2 years ago, I had this big shift in my life and I went through this weird period internally. And it was kind of beautiful, actually, where I started realizing like everything that I was doing wrong on a career level, or shall we say like everything that I wasn't doing that I had always realistically needed to consider, but I hadn't. It was a period where it felt like I was having like a smack in my own head type moment every single day of like, oh my God, like, why hadn't I thought about this before? I had these profound reflections that I had spent the previous couple years being totally inconsistent with the person that I thought I was becoming. Even though, like, during those years, you know, I thought I was doing all the right things. I mean, it's not that everything I was doing was like dead wrong, but I came to recognize that if I continued in that way without implementing changes and new conceptions, the future that I had wanted and still want to this day would never actually come to pass. I imagine anybody watching this of a certain age has felt similarly at one point or another of, say, clarity and urgency and a responsibility to your future. It occurred to me that nothing is ever promised to anybody. Like, obviously, everyone knows that, you know, living on this earth, but you have to live a little bit, I think, to understand that on like a personal level. You have to fuck up and make mistakes and suffer and have your pride bruised. And in this period that I've been referring to, I think I noticed for the first time that I was being irresponsible for my own future. That's a scary thought, you know? And my internal reactions to all of this did include some berating of myself. Like, how the hell have I been so stupid? What's wrong with me? Why haven't I been locked in? And so forth. But it was combined with this joy that came from recognizing my own autonomy. Like that Chalamet clip that's been going around on the internet for a while of like, life comes from you, not at you, which I really think is a great line. Kudos to him. I started to become liberated from blaming other people and blaming other things, the external circumstances of my life, which admittedly have not always been easy, but my life isn't defined completely by that. Like, whose fault is it if I don't get what I want in this life, you know? It's like, it's not anybody else's fault now. And, you've seen the title of this video. Yeah, starting is the hardest part. I haven't been through the entirety of the journey, but I have started, and having started, it continues to get easier. It's not like you can realize this kind of thing one morning and flip a switch and suddenly have like complete wisdom and control over yourself. Everything I've talked about is easier said than done. What I recognized I needed to do was pursue a music career as a solo artist, and I needed to implement a new mindset and like utilize strategies that I never had before. I needed to have consistent content. I needed to start building a brand on multiple platforms. I needed to make lots of videos and lots of songs, and I needed to show up for myself all the time. I needed to just level up, dude. I needed to get past hobby level effort into the realization of my future. But achievement of these things has required me to consistently confront my own insecurities about my skill set. I've had to do a lot of things that I'd never done before. This continues to be the case. A year and a half ago, I'd never edited a video for TikTok. I never mixed and mastered my own music. I'd never designed and maintained my own web platforms. So like when I was starting, I was like terribly frightened about a lot of it. Like doing things for the first time is often just not fun. I think there's nothing wrong with admitting that. And you feel awful and you feel stupid and you're like questioning whether this is worth it. But the amazing thing I've found is that the solution forever and always is just to do it. You're never going to feel like you're doing it perfectly, and it's pointless to wait. Like you have to confront it head on. Like when I first started mixing my songs, I was like overthinking this shit to death, and I just did the best that I could every time because I had to admit that the future me that I want won't ever exist if I don't drop music. And I don't have a budget for other people to mix and master my shit, so I've had to like endure the discomfort as best I could. But what's crazy is that increasingly now, I'll get a comment on TikTok or something for one of my songs, and it'll say, I really like the mix. And in my mind, I'm always like, what? I still don't think my mixes are good. But other people don't perceive it the way that I perceive it. And if I hadn't tried to do it myself, then there wouldn't be any songs, there wouldn't be any completed stuff for people to give nice compliments like that. And I can increasingly say to myself, like, hey, like maybe I'm doing not as bad as I think, and I'm only gonna improve. Through the doing, you'll naturally accumulate the experience and the intuition. And it happens so gradually that you don't notice it. I've found that all I have to do for myself is just show up all the time and put in the work. And this goes for anybody. By making any progress today at all, no matter how small, you have benefited the interests of the you who wakes up tomorrow. And life is just doing that repeatedly. Say 500 days ago, I had 0 monthly listeners. I had no YouTube videos. Nobody had ever heard the name Sezno before. And like I said, I'm still working on it, but now I look around and I'm like, okay, I've come a little ways. And it doesn't even feel like what I was doing on the day-to-day was all that impressive or sophisticated. It was all like small level shit. Okay, I gotta edit this clip today, or I gotta redo this vocal today. But you add that up over 500 days and like, I promise you, like stuff happens. And again, I think this applies to anything, not just being a musician. I'm obviously still learning to embrace my own discipline, but I think I'm finding the fun in it. The fun that comes from being motivated by your own progress. I'm out here like, dude, 500 days from now, who knows? I think this mentality of just pushing through has got me further than I ever had prior. And recognizing your mission and committing to starting is like incredibly daunting. And there's other avenues of my life in which I need to like implement this idea more. But I assure you, starting is the hardest part. Once you start, it gets easier. It has to. Anyway, yeah, there you go. Thanks for watching.